During Christmas, my daughter placed a plate in front of me with a fake smile. "Dad, try your favorite cupcakes, which I made especially for you." I quietly swapped our plates with her husband. Exactly 15 minutes later, Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. Warren's voice came through the phone with practiced urgency. My son-in-law had perfected that tone over the past 3 years. "Dewey, we've got an emergency. The roof is leaking badly. Inspector says it could collapse. We need $15,000 by tomorrow." I sat at my desk in the modest apartment I'd moved to after letting them take the house, staring at my checkbook. "Another emergency, Warren? The last 2 loans. This is serious." He cut me off like I was wasting his time. "Do you want your daughter homeless?" 20 minutes later, I pulled up to 3650 Rum Row, my house. The one I'd designed myself 15 years ago, back when I thought I'd grow old there. Port Royal's palm trees swayed in the January wind, and I sat in the car for a moment, gathering myself. This was the 3rd check I'd written this year. January wasn't even over. I walked to the front door carrying the envelope. The check inside felt heavier than paper should. Warren answered, barely opening the door wide enough for me to enter. "Finally, we've been waiting all day." The living room stopped me cold. Brand new leather furniture dominated the space. Chocolate brown, the kind with USB ports built into the armrests. Price tags dangled from one sofa cushion. I recognized the numbers, $42,700. Behind it, mounted like a shrine, an 85-inch television glowed with some cooking show. My daughter Violet stood by the window, wearing a dress I'd seen in a magazine at the doctor's office last week. Gucci. The advertisement had burned into my memory because I'd thought, who spends $2,800 on a dress? Now I knew. "That's beautiful furniture, Warren." I kept my voice level. "When did the roof get repaired?" His face hardened. "What are you implying? We deserve to live like normal people, not like beggars." "Warren, please." Violet's voice came out quiet, strained. She still wouldn't look at me. "Are you going to help us or not?" Warren crossed his arms. I'd spent 40 years as an art dealer, learning to read people across negotiating tables. The aggressive stance, the deflection, the performative offense, all tells of someone caught in a lie. But this wasn't a business deal. This was my daughter's home, even if it used to be mine. "Here's the check." I held out the envelope. $15,000. Warren snatched it, unfolded the check to verify the amount, then stuffed it in his pocket. "Finally, we've been waiting all day." "You're welcome." "Sure, whatever." The words hit like a slap, but I'd learned that silence could be stronger than argument. I turned toward the door, then paused. Violet stood frozen by that massive television, arms wrapped around herself. "Sweetheart, are you okay? You seem..." "I'm fine, Dad." She cut me off, voice strained tight. "We're fine. Thanks for the money." "Vi, if you ever need to talk..." I said we're fine. She turned away, giving me her back. I walked to my car without looking at the house again. 2 blocks away, stopped at a red light, my hands started shaking. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. 3 years ago, Warren had sat at my dining table with his head in his hands, explaining he'd been fired unfairly. "Just 3 months, he'd promised, just until I get back on my feet." Violet had pleaded, tears streaming. I'd handed them the keys the next day. 3 months became 3 years. I remembered Violet at 7 years old, running to hug me when I came home from business trips, shouting, "Daddy!" with pure joy. Now she couldn't even look at me. When had my little girl become this stranger? 8 months ago, they'd needed $8,000 for medical bills. 5 months ago, $14,000 for Warren's business investment that would pay back double. Neither loan repaid, neither even mentioned again. I'd kept quiet, avoiding conflict, hoping things would improve. The light turned green. I drove to my apartment building, parked, but couldn't bring myself to get out. I sat there as the sky darkened, staring at nothing. The check was gone. My self-respect felt gone too. When did I become the fool in my own house? I finally climbed out of the car, legs stiff from sitting so long. The apartment building looked gray in the fading light. Nothing like the house I'd built, with its view of the water and the garden I'd planted by hand. I'd moved here voluntarily, telling myself it was practical, that I didn't need all that space anymore. Now it felt like exile. Inside my small living room, I poured bourbon into a cheap glass and sat on the secondhand couch I'd bought when I downsized. Everything in this apartment was modest, carefully chosen to look like a retired man living on a fixed income. People treated you differently when they thought you were rich. I'd learned that lesson early, but tonight, watching the amber liquid catch the lamplight, I wondered if hiding my success had been wisdom or cowardice. They didn't know about the investment accounts, the properties in other states, the art collection and climate-controlled storage. They only saw this apartment, this ordinary old man who kept writing checks. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe I'd made it too easy. I pulled out my phone, scrolled to Violet's name, then set it down without calling. What would I even say? Your husband treats me like an ATM? You've become someone I don't recognize? Come back to me, whoever you used to be. The bourbon burned going down, but it didn't warm the cold spreading through my chest. February came with another call. March brought Violet crying about her car transmission. $8,200, she claimed, or she couldn't get to job interviews. I paid the mechanic directly at Naples Automotive, just to be sure the money went where she said. 2 days later, I saw her car parked at waterside shops, Violet emerging with bags from Prada and Saint Laurent. I started keeping a notebook, small, leather-bound, the kind I used to carry for auction notes. Date, amount, stated reason, what I observed. March 15, 8200's car repair. Saw her shopping instead of interviewing. I didn't know why I was documenting this. Instinct, maybe. The same instinct that had guided me through decades of high-stakes art deals. May brought a text from Violet. Thanks for the car money, Dad. That was it. Not even a phone call anymore. July arrived with Warren texting about urgent medical bills. $12,000 for Violet's emergency procedure, he wrote. When I asked about her health later, she changed the subject so fast, I got whiplash. The notebook grew. July 18th, $12,000, medical emergency. Violet won't discuss details. By August, I'd given them $43,200 this year alone, not counting the free housing in Port Royal, worth at least $36,000 annually in rent. I brought groceries in September, after Warren mentioned they were struggling to eat. $400 worth, fresh produce, good cuts of meat, the organic brands Violet used to prefer. Warren met me at the door, took the bags, and said, "About time," before closing the door in my face. Through the window, I glimpsed their refrigerator already packed with expensive steaks and imported cheese. The notebook entry for that day took up 3 lines. My handwriting looked angrier than usual. November changed everything. I'd arrived unannounced to drop off prescription medication Violet had mentioned needing. The doorbell went unanswered, but I had a key, still had a key to my own house at least. Concerned, I let myself in quietly. Warren's voice carried from the study, loud and careless. The old miser is sitting on piles of cash and won't share. He's 68. How much longer can he live anyway? We just need to wait it out, or... A pause. Yeah, maybe speed things up. That house alone is worth nearly $3 million. I froze in the hallway. My heart hammered so hard I thought Warren might hear it. The prescription bottle felt slippery in my suddenly sweating hand. I backed out the way I came, left the medication on the doorstep, and drove away with my hands shaking on the wheel. Speed things up. Speed things up. The words echoed in my head for days. I started driving past the house at different times, noting patterns. Warren left every Tuesday and Thursday evening, returning after midnight. Expensive cars sometimes parked in the driveway. Whose? The study lights burned at 2 in the morning. What was he doing in there? Planning? The notebook became something else after November. Evidence, maybe. Insurance. December 20th, Violet called about Sunday lunch. Her voice sounded surprisingly warm, almost like the daughter I remembered. When I arrived, Warren was on the phone in the kitchen, so I stood alone in the dining room. That's when I saw the papers. Letterhead. Morrison and Associates, estate planning attorneys. My eyes caught phrases even from 3 feet away. Transfer of assets, inheritance timeline, property valuation, 2.8 mispars. The Port Royal address, my address, appeared multiple times. What's this about estate planning? Warren materialized beside me, snatched the papers away. Not your business, old man. My chest tightened. It has my house's address on it. That makes it my business. Violet appeared in the doorway. Her earlier warmth evaporated. It's our future, Dad. Our planning. We need to be prepared. Prepared for what exactly? For when you're gone. Warren's smile didn't reach his eyes, which, let's face it, could be any day at your age. Warren, Violet snapped, but she didn't defend me. Just looked uncomfortable, like he'd said the quiet part too loud. I see, I kept my voice steady. Very responsible. In the bathroom, I locked the door and pulled out my phone. My hands shook so badly the first photo came out blurred. I took 3 more shots of the papers I'd glimpsed, praying they'd be readable later. Driving home, I couldn't stop replaying Warren's words. Any day at your age, speed things up. I remembered my father warning me once. When you make money, hide it. People treat you different when they think you're rich. Even family can turn. I'd thought he was being cynical. Now I realized he might have saved my life with that advice. They knew about the Port Royal house, but not the $8.5 million investments, the art collection, the properties in other states. If they knew the full extent, I didn't want to finish that thought. December 20th, I sat at my desk examining the photos on my phone. The notebook lay open. 11 entries, $43,200 given. On my computer screen, a search for signs someone is planning to harm you. The phone rang. Violet's name appeared on screen. Hi, Daddy. Her voice dripped honey. I know we've been difficult. Warren and I want to make it up to you. Christmas dinner at the house, December 24th. Please? I'm making your favorite desserts, your mom's apple pie recipe. I stared at the phone, every nerve screaming. After months of coldness, suddenly warm. After speed things up and estate planning documents, suddenly family dinner. That sounds lovely, sweetheart. Really? Oh, Dad, thank you. Come around 6. I'll be there. I hung up and looked at the search results still glowing on my screen. The list of warning signs blurred as my eyes filled with tears I refused to shed. My own daughter, my own house, Christmas dinner, and I was afraid to go. 3 days passed in a haze of preparation. I barely slept. December 23rd, evening. My phone rang. Violet's name lit the screen. I let it ring twice before answering, forcing my voice neutral. Daddy, it's me. Her tone dripped honey. I've been thinking a lot about us, about how awful I've been. Violet, this is unexpected. I know, but it's Christmas and... She paused, perfectly timed. Warren and I want to make things right. Please come for dinner tomorrow, Christmas Eve. I'm making all your favorite foods. My favorite foods. She had no idea what those were. All right, sweetheart. What time? 6. Perfect. See you then. She hung up before I could respond. I sat holding the phone, staring at the dark screen. After months of coldness, suddenly warmth. After speed things up and estate planning documents, suddenly family dinner. I opened my laptop and typed, signs of poisoning symptoms. Then, how to detect tampered food. Then, with trembling fingers, zolpidem overdose effects. At 4 in the morning, still awake, I wrote a note on plain paper. If I die suddenly or become incapacitated, investigate Violet Roberts Warren and Warren Mason. November 15th. Overheard Warren discussing speeding things up regarding my death. December 12th. Discovered estate planning documents. December 23rd. Suspicious invitation after months of hostility. I believe they may attempt to harm me. Dewey Roberts, December 24th, 2024. I sealed it in an envelope, wrote, "Open if something happens to me," across the front, and left it on my kitchen counter beside my attorney's business card. Then I tried to sleep. Couldn't. Christmas Eve arrived gray and humid. I wrapped their gifts, a cookbook for Violet, a Warren Buffett biography for Warren. Neither expensive. I was done being their bank. The drive to Port Royal felt surreal. Palm trees decorated with lights I hadn't paid for. The house glowing warm against the afternoon sky. My house. The one I'd designed, built, loved. Warren opened the door with an enormous smile. "Dewey! Welcome, welcome. Come in from the cold." "It's 70 degrees, Warren. Hardly cold." "Ha! Always the literal one. Come in, come in." Violet appeared wearing another new dress. Prada, my eye noted automatically. Approximately $3,200. She hugged me, but her body was stiff, rehearsed. "Daddy, you look wonderful. How are you feeling?" Strange question. Feeling? I feel fine. Why do you ask? Oh, just You know, at your age, health is so important. I'm 68, not 90. I run 3 miles every morning. Warren and Violet exchanged a glance. Quick, nervous. Of course. Very healthy. Warren's smile never reached his eyes. Dinner was prime rib and expensive wine, neither of which they'd paid for with legitimate income. The conversation felt scripted. Warren kept mentioning new beginnings and checking his phone. Violet talked about exciting changes coming soon. What kind of changes? I asked. Oh, just... Violet waved her hand vaguely. Life improvements. We can discuss details later. On the credenza behind Warren, I spotted a bill of sale. Bentley dealership. Continental GT. Purchase price $235,000. Delivery date January 15th. That Bentley invoice on the credenza, is that part of the improvements? $235,000? Warren shifted uncomfortably. You saw that? Well, we're expecting some funds to come through soon. Funds? From where? I wasn't aware you'd come into money. Warren has some investments paying off, right, honey? Exactly. Investments. Long-term planning, you know how it is. I met his eyes. I know exactly how long-term planning works. While Warren was distracted by his phone, I excused myself to the bathroom. Instead, I moved quickly through the kitchen. Renovation estimates spread on the counter. $85,000 from Naples Luxury Homes. Start date, spring 2025. I photographed them. On the counter near the stove, a prescription bottle. Zolpidem 10 mg V. Roberts Warren. Quantity 30. Refill date, Dec 15. I picked it up, counted. 12 pills left, 18 missing, 18 pills, 180 milligrams. That could kill someone. I photographed the bottle, my hands shaking so badly the first image blurred. I took 3 more, then returned to the dining room. Warren wore a new Rolex, $18,000 retail. Violet's forehead looked suspiciously smooth. Fresh Botox, probably. They were spending like people about to inherit a fortune. More chilling. Every time I mentioned future plans or next year, they shared a look. A knowing, nervous look that said, "You won't be here for next year." I served myself from communal dishes, watching which foods they ate freely. When Violet offered to fix me a plate, I declined. I'll serve myself, thanks. The prime rib everyone ate, that was safe. The special sauce that appeared only near my plate, I avoided it. Throughout the meal, I cataloged everything. Every gesture, every word, every glance between them. Warren said, "We're so grateful for everything." Past tense, like a eulogy. Violet said, "You've always been there for us," with wet eyes, crocodile tears, practicing grief she expected to perform soon. Warren checked his phone again. I glimpsed the email preview. Urgent, payment overdue, Bentley. They'd already purchased a $250,000 car they couldn't afford. The timeline clicked into place. They needed money now. Tonight, or very soon after. "I'll get dessert." Violet stood abruptly, too bright, almost manic. Warren watched me with predatory focus, making idle chatter about how nice it is to be together as a family. I rested my hand near my phone, pulse pounding in my ears. This was it. The moment I'd been dreading. Violet disappeared into the kitchen. I heard the refrigerator open, dishes clinking. Warren smiled at me across the table, in my house, and said, "We're so glad you came tonight, Dewey. It means everything to us." His eyes said something else entirely. Violet emerged carrying a serving tray, 3 plates, each with cupcakes. Her hands trembled slightly. She set a plate before me, 3 chocolate cupcakes, dark frosting, almost black in the dining room light. Then plates before herself and Warren, strawberry cupcakes, pink frosting, completely different. "Daddy, taste your favorite cupcakes. I made them just for you." Her voice was too bright, verging on hysteria. Warren's eyes locked onto my plate with laser intensity. I lifted my gaze to Violet's face. "Chocolate cupcakes, how thoughtful. Try them, tell me what you think. Let me savor the moment." I didn't touch the plate. Warren couldn't wait. He grabbed one of his strawberry cupcakes, bit into it enthusiastically. "I'm not waiting, I'm starving. These look amazing, babe." "Warren, those are..." Violet stopped herself mid-sentence, face draining of color. He looked up, mouth full. "Are what?" Delicious? Yeah, they are. His phone buzzed. He pulled it out, frowning at the screen. Payment overdue flashed in the preview. He stood abruptly. I need to take this. 1 second. He walked toward the living room, phone pressed to his ear, arguing with someone about payment schedules. Violet stood too. I forgot the coffee. 1 second. She rushed back to the kitchen. 10 seconds. I had maybe 10 seconds. I moved. Decades of handling delicate art pieces, of precise movements in high-stakes situations. It all came down to this moment. Left hand lifts my plate of chocolate cupcakes. Right hand lifts Warren's plate of strawberry cupcakes. Cross switch in one fluid motion. Set both down in swapped positions. 4 seconds total. Warren returned, pocketing his phone. Creditors, always calling at the worst times. Violet appeared with coffee mugs, hands still shaking. She glanced at the plates, but both men had plates in front of them. She didn't notice the switch. I lifted one of the strawberry cupcakes, now on what appeared to be my plate, and made a show of examining it. These look wonderful, sweetheart. I took a small bite of just the cake portion, avoiding frosting. The taste was ordinary. I didn't swallow, discreetly disposing of it in my napkin when reaching for water. Warren sat down and immediately grabbed one of the chocolate cupcakes from his plate, the ones that had been mine 30 seconds ago. These are great, Vi. He bit into it enthusiastically. What's in these? They're rich. Violet went pale. Her eyes darted to the plates, confusion flashing across her face. Just chocolate? Regular chocolate? Her voice came out strangled. Warren finished the first cupcake and reached for a second. I'm having another. They're incredible. Warren, maybe you should... Should what? They're amazing. You outdid yourself. He bit into the second chocolate cupcake. I checked my watch. 8:14 p.m. The countdown began. I made small talk about the Christmas decorations, the weather, anything neutral. Violet barely responded, clutching her wine glass like a lifeline. Her eyes fixed on Warren as he enthusiastically finished his second chocolate cupcake and reached for the third. Warren, maybe that's enough dessert. I'm a grown man, Vi. I can eat 3 cupcakes. He finished the third one. There, all gone, happy. At 8:24 p.m., 10 minutes later, Warren's speech began to slur. I feel weird, really tired suddenly. He blinked slowly. Vi, did you put rum in these? No, no rum. Warren, are you okay? Just dizzy, room spinning. He tried to focus on his wine glass, missed it when reaching. Maybe you should sit down, I said calmly. I am sitting. Why is everything blurry? Violet stood, frantic. Warren, look at me. He tried. His eyes couldn't focus. Can't focus. Something's wrong. Really wrong. At 8:27 p.m., he struggled to form words. Need, help, can't. Perhaps you should ask your wife what she baked into those cupcakes, I said, voice cold. Warren tried to stand. His legs wouldn't support him. He grabbed the table edge, missed, and crashed backward. The chair hit the floor with him in it. Violet screamed. I pulled out my phone, dialed 911, and spoke with deliberate calm. I need an ambulance at 3650 Rum Row, Port Royal. My son-in-law collapsed during dinner. He's unresponsive, breathing shallow. Do something! Violet shrieked at me. Help him! I covered the phone's microphone. I am helping. I'm calling the professionals. Unless you prefer to explain to them what happened? Her face crumbled. Understanding dawned. The plates had switched. Her husband ate the poison meant for me. I didn't... This wasn't what, Violet? The 911 operator was asking questions. I answered methodically, establishing myself as the rational party. Mid-30s, male, unresponsive, breathing but shallow. No known medical conditions. We were just having dinner. While Violet knelt beside Warren's unconscious body, sobbing, I acted. I took the 2 remaining chocolate cupcakes from Warren's plate, wrapped them carefully in my cloth napkin, and slipped the bundle into my jacket pocket. Evidence. I photographed the scene with my phone. The plates, Warren on the floor, timestamp visible, 8:29 p.m. Then I stood over Warren's unconscious form and looked directly at Violet. What exactly did you put in those chocolate cupcakes? She looked up, mascara running. Nothing. I swear I just made cupcakes. Then why is Warren on the floor? Why are you shaking? Why did you insist I eat the chocolate ones specifically? I don't know what you're talking about. I gestured to the plates. Notice anything different about the plates, Violet? Her eyes widened, horror spreading across her face. You switched. I switched what? Plates of innocent cupcakes? Why would that matter unless one set was different? Oh my, she whispered it. What have we done? I think the better question is, what did you intend to do to me? Sirens approached. Red lights flashed through the windows. Paramedics burst through the door. I stepped back, giving them space. Violet was incoherent, sobbing. Help him! Please help him! A female paramedic knelt beside Warren, checking vitals. What did he consume? I answered with calculated precision. Homemade chocolate cupcakes, 3 of them, approximately 15 minutes ago. I pulled the wrapped cupcakes from my pocket. These are the remaining ones from the same batch. You'll want to test them. The paramedic's eyes narrowed. She understood something was very wrong here. They loaded Warren onto the gurney. His breathing was shallow, his face slack. Violet tried to follow, but the other paramedic stopped her. We need information. What medications does he have access to? Violet's face crumbled. She knew what the blood tests would reveal. As they wheeled Warren out, I caught Violet's eye. She looked utterly destroyed. I said quietly so only she could hear. The hospital will test his blood. They'll find the zolpidem. Then there will be questions. Many questions. Her knees buckled. She grabbed the doorframe to stay upright. The ambulance door slammed shut. Sirens wailed as they pulled away. I stood in the doorway of my own house, the house they'd stolen, the house they'd planned to inherit after killing me, and watched the red lights disappear. Violet sank onto the porch steps, head in her hands. I pulled out my phone and called my attorney. The ambulance arrived at NCH Baker Hospital 8 minutes later. I followed in my car, maintaining careful distance. Violet drove separately, weaving erratically through traffic. The emergency department buzzed with holiday activity. I watched paramedics wheel Warren through automatic doors, oxygen mask over his face, IV line already running. A nurse intercepted me. Relationship to patient? I'm his father-in-law. I called 911. I pulled the wrapped cupcakes from my jacket. He consumed 3 of these approximately 30 minutes ago. These are from the same batch. Her eyes narrowed. She took the bundle carefully, as if handling evidence. Wait here, please. Dr. Seema Patel, the attending physician, emerged 20 minutes later. Sharp-featured, competent-looking, maybe mid-40s. She studied me with clinical assessment. Mr. Roberts, I'm Dr. Patel. Your son-in-law's vitals are dangerously suppressed. Respiratory rate 8 per minute. Blood pressure 85/50. We're treating for suspected overdose. What exactly did he consume? Homemade chocolate cupcakes, 3 of them. My daughter baked them. And these? She held up the wrapped bundle. The remaining cupcakes from the same batch. Her gaze sharpened. I see. We've ordered comprehensive toxicology screening. We'll test these as well. Violet appeared in the waiting room, mascara streaked down her face. She collapsed into a chair, trembling. I sat across from her, not beside her. The distance felt appropriate. The waiting room clock showed 9:15. I replayed the evening in my mind with precise detail. Violet served dessert at 8:12. Warren collapsed at 8:29, 17 minutes exactly. Then it hit me, cold and clear as shattered glass. If I'd eaten those cupcakes as intended, I would have collapsed around 8:29. And then what? Warren and Violet would have panicked, called 911, played the grieving family. How long before paramedics arrived? Could they have delayed the call? He just fell asleep after dinner. We thought he was tired. An old man, Christmas dinner, maybe some wine, heart attack, natural causes. No one would have questioned it. 15 minutes was all that stood between me and death. One instinctive plate switch executed in 4 seconds while they were distracted. 15 minutes. My hands started shaking. I gripped the chair arms until the tremors stopped. At 9:45, Dr. Patel returned, expression grave. She gestured for both of us. Mr. Mason's toxicology results came back. Zolpidem, approximately 180 milligrams in his system. That's 18 times a normal prescription dose. I nodded slowly, unsurprised. Violet gasped. What? That's impossible? Dr. Patel's gaze was penetrating. Mrs. Mason, do you have a Zolpidem prescription? Yes, for insomnia, but Warren doesn't take it. Then how did 180 milligrams end up in his bloodstream? Silence stretched like broken piano wire. I'm testing the cupcakes Mr. Roberts provided, Dr. Patel continued. I'm also required by Florida law to report suspected poisoning to authorities. Violet's face drained white. No police. This is just a mistake. Dr. Patel pulled me aside, lowering her voice. Mr. Roberts, you brought evidence. You called 911 with remarkable calm. You're not surprised by these results. What happened tonight? I made a calculated decision. Doctor, may I speak candidly? Please do. Those cupcakes were specifically prepared for me. My daughter insisted I eat them. But I've observed troubling patterns lately. I switched the plates. Her eyes widened. You're saying your daughter tried to poison you? I'm saying the evidence speaks for itself. Test those cupcakes. Compare them to Warren's blood work. Draw your own conclusions. She nodded grimly. I will, and I'm documenting everything. Mr. Roberts, she paused. You were very fortunate to be so cautious. Fortune had nothing to do with it, doctor. Preparation did. Around 10:15, a nurse emerged. He stabilized, conscious but weak. Family can see him briefly. Violet rushed toward the room. I followed, staying in the doorway. Warren lay pale against white sheets, confusion clouding his eyes. What happened? Where am I? You collapsed, honey. Violet gripped his hand. You're in the hospital. The cupcakes made me sick? I spoke from the doorway, voice cold. Not just sick, Warren. They nearly killed you. His gaze found me, slowly processing. But those were... Realization dawned in his eyes like a terrible sunrise. Those were for you. Yes, but you ate them instead. Ironic, isn't it? Warren turned to Violet, horror replacing confusion. You gave me the wrong plate. You poisoned me. No, Warren, I didn't. You grabbed... Actually, I switched the plates. I stepped into the room. You two were so busy plotting you didn't notice. Warren's face contorted. You knew? I suspected. You confirmed it. Sleep well, Warren. The police will want to talk to you. I left them arguing, walked through sterile corridors into the parking lot. The Florida night was warm, humid, utterly indifferent to attempted murder. Footsteps rushed behind me. Dad, please! I stopped. Didn't turn. You have to understand. Violet's voice cracked. Warren said it would just look like you fell asleep. I turned then, ice in my voice. Oh, I see. Murder was acceptable as long as it was comfortable for me. We were desperate. The debts, the collectors, we had no choice. You had choices. You chose the worst one. Now you face consequences. What are you going to do? The police? Dr. Patel is required to report poisonings, but that's the least of your problems. What does that mean? It means the game just changed. You wanted my inheritance? You'll get $1. You wanted my house? You'll be evicted. You wanted me gone? Instead, I'll be here watching your life collapse. You're my father! How can you be so cruel? Ask yourself that question, Violet. You tried to poison your father for money. I got in my car. Through the rearview mirror, I watched her sink to the pavement, sobbing. I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. At home, I left a voicemail for Jonathan Bradford, my attorney. Jonathan, emergency. My daughter and son-in-law attempted to poison me tonight. I have medical proof. Call me first thing tomorrow. I need estate protection and possibly criminal consultation. Then I searched. Private investigators, Naples, Florida. Bookmarked 3 firms. At 1 a.m., I sat at my desk, still dressed. Before me, a notebook, new page titled Actions Priority Order. Item 1, Jonathan Bradford, Estate Revision, Eviction. Item 2, Private Investigator, Evidence Collection. Item 3, Medical Exam, Prove Competence. Item 4, Bank, Secure Accounts. I opened my laptop and began drafting an email to the highest-rated investigator. I need comprehensive financial background checks on 2 individuals. Time sensitive. I have evidence of attempted homicide and need to document motive. I paused, then added, My daughter and her husband tried to poison me tonight. I have proof. I need to know everything about them before they realize I'm coming for them. I hit send. Then I finally allowed myself to feel it. The rage, the betrayal, the cold determination. They'd wanted me dead by Christmas morning. Instead, Christmas morning would mark the beginning of their destruction. December 26th arrived gray and heavy. I'd slept 3 hours. At 10 a.m., I sat across from Rick Castellano in his cramped office on Tamiami Trail. Investigative Solutions LLC occupied a strip mall between a tax preparer and a nail salon. Rick was weathered, early 50s, with eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. Roberts, you weren't exaggerating. Your son-in-law is drowning." He spread documents across the desk like dealing cards, credit reports, bank statements, transaction logs. Warren's debts total $89,300, breaking it down, $63,400 in online gambling losses across BetOnline, Bovada, and offshore crypto betting. Another $18,600 in failed cryptocurrency investments, plus $7,300 in personal loans from lenders who charge 30% interest. I studied the numbers with art dealer's precision. And Violet, $47,200. Credit cards maxed, Amex, Chase, Discover. Another $15,400 in retail store credits and personal loans. Collection agencies have filed judgments, lawsuits pending. Total? $136,500 and climbing daily with interest. Rick pulled out another stack. But here's the smoking gun. Your daughter forgot to sign out of the iPad you gave her 3 years ago. Everything synced to iCloud. He showed me printed message exchanges. November through December, Warren and Violet plotting in black and white. November 18th. Warren, your dad is sitting on millions and gives us scraps. We need that house. Violet, I know, but he's my father. Warren, a father who lets his daughter suffer? Think about it. December 3rd. Warren, I found a solution. My buddy says Zolpidem in high doses looks natural for someone his age. Heart failure. Violet, I don't know if I can. Warren, you want collectors repossessing our car? This solves everything. December 15th. Violet, okay, Christmas dinner. One last family meal then? After. Warren, that's my girl. We'll be free by New Year's. I read each message twice. My jaw clenched, but my hands remained steady. I need 3 complete sets of everything, I said. One for me, one for my attorney, one in reserve. And I want ongoing surveillance. Any new debt, any assets they try to hide, I want weekly reports. 5,000 retainer for monthly surveillance? I wrote the check without hesitation. At Jonathan Bradford's office, silver-haired and precise, my attorney listened to the full story. Dewey, this is elder abuse and attempted murder. You should be talking to criminal attorneys and police. I want them punished, but I want control of how. First, protect my estate. He nodded. We'll revise your will immediately. They receive $1 each. Proves you didn't forget them. Actively chose to disinherit. Everything else to the National Center on Elder Abuse Victims Fund. I'll also prepare eviction notice under Florida statutes, Section 83-6, 30 days. Do it. At 2 p.m. I texted Violet. We need to talk. You, Warren, me, Campiello Restaurant, 3 p.m. today. Come alone or I go directly to police with everything. 10 minutes later. Dad, please we can explain everything. I replied, 3 p.m., not negotiable. Campiello sits elegant on 5th Avenue South. All white tablecloths and soft lighting. I arrived early, requested a quiet corner, tipped the waiter $50 for privacy. 3 manila folders arranged on the table, each labeled Warren Financial, Violet Financial, Digital Evidence. They arrived at 3, both haggard. Warren moved slowly, still weak from the poisoning. They sat like defendants awaiting sentencing. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. Warren, you owe $89,300. Online gambling primarily. BetOnline records show $47,000 lost in 6 months. His face went gray. How did you... Violet, you owe $47,200. Credit cards maxed, collections filed. I opened the digital evidence folder. December 15th. Warren writes, Christmas dinner, we do it then. One last meal, play nice, then solve our problem permanently. This is out of context, Warren interrupted. You can't, I continued, voice ice. Violet responds, I'm scared. What if something goes wrong? Warren, nothing will go wrong. I researched the dosage. He'll fall asleep, won't wake up, natural causes at his age. Violet was sobbing now. Violet writes, what about guilt? Warren, what about poverty? Choose guilty and rich, or innocent and destroyed. You fabricated this. Warren's voice cracked. I slid my phone across the table, showing the screenshot. Your iCloud account, authenticated with metadata, timestamps, IP addresses. My investigator pulled everything before you could delete it. Violet stared at the screen in horror. You have all our messages? Every single one. Warren tried desperate justification. You don't understand the pressure. Collectors calling 20 times a day. So you decided to murder me? It wasn't murder. We just needed the inheritance sooner. You're 68. You've lived a full life. So I should die on your schedule to pay your gambling debts? Violet suddenly turned on Warren. You told me it was business investments. Day trading. It was day trading. Crypto is legitimate. I cut through their unraveling. Here's what's legitimate. Attempted homicide. Conspiracy to commit murder. Elder abuse. The police will love this evidence. Warren panicked. You're going to the police? That depends on whether you cooperate with what happens next. Violet grasped my hand. Dad, I'm sorry. Please don't destroy us. I pulled away. You destroyed yourselves when you crushed Zolpidem into those cupcakes. I'm simply revealing the ruins. I stood. Tomorrow, sheriff serves eviction notice. 30 days. You can't throw us out, Warren's voice rose. To my property, you have no rights. You're guest who tried to kill the host. We'll get a lawyer. Please do. My attorney is Jonathan Bradford, one of the best in Naples. Your lawyer will tell you that you have no case. Violet's voice broke. What about criminal charges? I paused. Attempted murder carries 25 years in Florida. Or, you accept what's coming, and maybe I'll let the criminal matter slide. You wanted my money? Watch me use it to take everything from you. House, reputation, financial future. And you'll be alive to see every bit. I walked out, leaving them with the folders and the wreckage of their lives. In my car, I watched through the restaurant window, Warren gesturing angrily, Violet crying, already turning on each other. My phone buzzed. Jonathan. Eviction notice prepared. Sheriff serves tomorrow, 10 a.m. Will addendum ready. Call when ready for next steps. I replied, Good. Now let's discuss asset freezes and creditor notifications. I started the engine, pulled away. In the rearview mirror, they remained at that table, their world crumbling. I felt no guilt, only cold satisfaction. Justice had begun. January 3rd arrived cold and gray. I met the Collier County Sheriff's deputy at 9:30 a.m., 3 blocks from the Port Royal house. Professional courtesy? I didn't want to seem vindictive, just present for documentation. We pulled up at 10 exactly. The deputy, a weathered man named Rodriguez, carried the official eviction notice in a manila folder. Warren answered the door, still looking weak. 2 weeks since the poisoning, and he hadn't recovered his color. Warren Mason? Deputy Rodriguez held up the document. I'm serving you with a 30-day notice to vacate under Florida statutes, section 83(5)(cx). Warren's face cycled through confusion, comprehension, rage. This is my house. Sir, property records show Dewey Roberts holds the deed. You have 30 days to vacate. Any belongings remaining after that date become subject to removal. Violet appeared behind him, read over his shoulder, began crying. I stood on the sidewalk, 20 feet back, arms crossed. Warren glared at me. You'll regret this, old man. I already regret having you as family, I said quietly. The eviction is just correcting that mistake. We have rights. We'll fight this. Please do. Spend money you don't have on lawyers who can't win. Every dollar on legal fees is one less for your creditors. Deputy Rodriguez handed Warren the papers. Sir, I recommend you consult an attorney. Compliance is mandatory. I watched them read the notice through the doorway, their faces crumbling. Then I drove away. 2 days later, Jonathan called. We have a problem. Their attorney filed a counterclaim. Adverse possession and oral gift theory. Will it work? Not remotely, but it delays eviction 6 to 8 weeks while the court processes it. I considered this. Time costs them money they don't have. Let them delay. It accelerates their collapse. Jonathan laughed darkly. You're remarkably patient for someone they tried to murder. Patience is strategy. Rage is weakness. The next phase began immediately. Anonymous notifications to Warren's creditors. I sent documented evidence, medical reports, eviction proceedings, legal troubles, to Bet and Line, 3 credit card companies, the predatory lenders. The message was clear. Collect now or lose everything. Rick reported results within days. 23 collection calls yesterday alone. They're threatening wage garnishment, though Warren has no wages. Good. There's something else. They hired a PI, bottom-tier guy named Lou Mackey. He's been tailing you. I smiled. I know. I've made sure he only sees me being completely competent. I deliberately scheduled conspicuous activities. Medical checkup with Dr. Raymond Chen, clean bill of health, meeting with my Morgan Stanley advisor, demonstrating mental acuity, golf at Port Royal Club, social functioning. Their investigator would report back. Subject is sharp, healthy, socially active. Their incompetency strategy was dead before it started. Mid-January brought Warren to my apartment building, drunk and desperate. I watched through my doorbell camera as he pounded on my door. "Dewey, we need to talk," I called, building security before answering. "Warren, you're intoxicated and trespassing. Leave immediately or I'm calling police. You've destroyed our lives over a misunderstanding. You tried to poison me. That's not a misunderstanding." Security arrived, a solid guard named Marcus. "Sir, you need to leave this property." Warren turned on me, voice breaking. "This isn't over." "Yes, Warren, it is. You just don't realize it yet." Marcus escorted him out. I saved the video, sent it to Jonathan. Harassment documented. Proceed with restraining order. Late January, Jonathan called with an update. The court hearing is scheduled. February 28th, Judge Carol Simmons. She's no nonsense, won't tolerate frivolous claims. Then we prepare evidence so overwhelming she sanctions their attorney. Already working on it. I spent the next weeks gathering more documentation. Rick's surveillance showed their marriage disintegrating, screaming matches at 2 a.m., neighbors complaining. Violet had started selling possessions on Poshmark. Warren was drinking heavily. Their conspiracy was eating them alive. One afternoon, my neighbor Roberta Stinson accidentally stopped by. She wanted gossip, and I decided to give her truth. "Is everything all right with Violet and Warren?" she asked, eyes gleaming. "No, Roberta. They tried to poison me. Medical records confirm zolpidem overdose in Cupcakes meant for me. I've filed for eviction." Her gasp was gratifying. "Your own daughter?" "Yes. They have massive debts and wanted to inherit my house. It's a legal matter now." Within days, Port Royal knew everything. Invitations to Violet and Warren stopped. Former friends crossed streets to avoid them. Social destruction spreading organically. Late January, Jonathan called again. "Naples Daily News is covering elder abuse cases. Their reporter wants to interview you. It could be the final blow to their reputation." I considered this carefully. Public exposure would turn local scandal into permanent record. "When does she want to meet?" "Next week." I looked at my calendar, at the approaching court date, at the comprehensive evidence we'd assembled. Everything was falling into place. The game was almost over. February 28th arrived with surprising sunshine. Collier County Courthouse, Courtroom 4B. Judge Carol Simmons presided, stern, late 50s, reputation for zero tolerance of nonsense. James Drucker, Warren's attorney, stood to argue. "Your Honor, my clients have lived in this property for 3 years, making improvements." Judge Simmons cut him off. "Counselor, do you have any written documentation of an alleged gift?" "No, Your Honor, but their 3-year occupancy demonstrates they were guests. Mr. Bradford?" Jonathan stood, calm and prepared. He presented poster boards, professional, undeniable, timeline of occupancy, financial contributions, medical evidence. "Your Honor, property deed showing sole ownership since 1998. 3 years of tax payments by Mr. Roberts, utilities in his name, and this email from 2022, where Mr. Mason explicitly requests temporary housing assistance." Judge Simmons reviewed documents for exactly 2 minutes. "The counterclaim is frivolous. Eviction granted immediately. 7 days to vacate. Mr. Drucker, I'm sanctioning you $500 for wasting this court's time." Warren slumped. Violet sobbed quietly. I remained expressionless, but internally. This was justice. That afternoon, I met Michelle Torres at Naples Daily News offices. Sharp-eyed reporter, mid-30s, thoroughly researched. "Mr. Roberts, I've uncovered something interesting. You own 3 properties worth approximately $8.5 million. Your art collection was appraised at $3.2 million. You're quite wealthy." I smiled. I've lived modestly by choice. And your daughter didn't know. They knew I had assets, not the full extent. If they had, they might have tried harder to kill me. I decided transparency served me now. Publish the full story. Show how elder abuse happens even in wealthy families. My wealth doesn't make the crime less serious. It makes their greed more calculated. Michelle's article would run Sunday with headline, Port Royal resident survives, daughter's poisoning plot. A story of elder abuse and hidden wealth. March 7th, eviction day. Sheriff's deputies arrived at 9 a.m. I stood with Jonathan and Rick, documenting everything. Warren and Violet had packed minimally. Deputies systematically removed them and their possessions, placing everything on the curb. Violet begged, "Dad, please, one more week. You had 3 years. You tried to murder me. 0 more weeks." Warren carried boxes, glaring with pure hatred. "You're a vindictive old man." "No, Warren, you ruined yourselves. I simply refuse to be your victim." By 11, they were gone. I entered my house for the first time in months. Damaged walls, missing fixtures, vindictive destruction everywhere. I photographed it all. Evidence for the civil lawsuit. Sunday, March 9th. The Naples Daily News article ran. It was devastating. Every detail. Their $136,500 in debts, the Christmas poisoning plot, medical evidence, my hidden wealth, $11.7 million total. Their attempted inheritance theft. My quote, "They chose murder over honest conversation. They chose greed over family." Within hours, social media exploded. By Monday, everyone knew. Violet received a call from a potential employer. "We've reconsidered your application." Warren got evicted from his new apartment. Landlord read the article. They were now unhireable and unrentable. Mid-March brought their final collapse. I heard through Rick's surveillance, Warren blamed Violet. "Your father, your Cupcakes. I'm taking all the heat for your crime," Violet fought back. "You're the one with gambling debts. You manipulated me." They filed for legal separation. Couldn't afford divorce yet. Violet moved to Fort Myers, staying with a distant cousin. Warren slept in his U-Haul truck in Walmart parking lots. The conspiracy that united them had destroyed everything. I sat on my apartment terrace one evening in mid-March, sunset over Naples Bay, reading the newspaper article for the 3rd time. My phone rang. Detective Marcus Gale from Naples PD. "Dewey, update for you. Warren and Violet filed for bankruptcy." Chapter 7. Also, they've separated, filing for divorce. Good. Let it fall apart. You engineered this deliberately, didn't you? The eviction, the article, the timing. You orchestrated their complete collapse. I engineered consequences for attempted murder. The collapse was their own doing. Marcus paused. "Well, it worked. They're destroyed. Is that enough for you?" I looked out at the water, considered the question. "Almost. There's one more thing." But I didn't tell him what. Some moves you keep to yourself until the moment arrives. Spring became summer, and I watched from a distance as their lives disintegrated. April brought the physical eviction. I stood across the street as deputies removed Warren and Violet's belongings, piling everything on the curb. Neighbors watched from windows. Roberta Stinson stood openly on her lawn, witnessing the spectacle. Violet loaded boxes into a rented U-Haul, crying. Warren carried furniture with mechanical movements, his face blank. The Golden Gate apartment they had arranged sight unseen was a shock. Bars on windows, sirens wailing at night. First night, Rick reported, Violet cried on bare floors, surrounded by boxes. Warren drank in the parking lot. May brought accelerating collapse. Violet's Honda was repossessed by Chase Auto Finance. She walked to her new job, waitress at Cracker Barrel, minimum wage plus tips. Warren, unemployable after background checks, found occasional day labor, $80 when he was lucky. Rick's weekly reports painted the picture. Rent late, eviction notice posted, collection calls constant. Then Warren gambled their last $200 online. One more time to fix everything, he told himself. Lost it all in 30 minutes. Violet discovered this, exploded. Their fight echoed through thin apartment walls. "You're sick. You need help." "I needed your father's money." Warren left that night. They barely spoke afterward. June brought bankruptcy filing. Chapter 7. Fort Myers Federal Court. Assets, 0. Liabilities, 148,700. Naples. Daily News ran a follow-up. Couple who poisoned father files bankruptcy. Every detail now public, searchable, permanent. Violet's Cracker Barrel manager saw the article, called her in. Corporate policy, we can't employ someone with this scandal. I'm sorry. Unemployed again. July brought divorce. Violet filed using free legal aid. Warren contested nothing. The hearing was brief, administrative, cold. Any reconciliation possibility? The judge asked. No, they answered simultaneously. Warren moved to a men's shelter. Violet stayed in Golden Gate until inevitable eviction. At the hearing, they didn't look at each other once. The conspiracy that united them was now the crime that separated them forever. While they crumbled, my life flourished. August, I hosted dinner at the restored Port Royal house. Repairs had cost $15,000, but the house was sanctuary again. My Child Hassam hung in the living room, worth $180,000, a reminder that beauty survived ugliness. Guests included Marcus Gale, Jonathan Bradford, several neighbors, good food, good wine, good conversation. Marcus pulled me aside on the terrace. I've been tracking them through the system, both bankrupt, divorced, essentially homeless. You accomplished what you set out to do. But Dewey, do you feel guilty? I looked at the bay, considered. I feel sad for the daughter I thought I had. But guilty? No. They chose poison for money. I simply chose not to die quietly and leave them rewarded. This was worse than prison, Marcus observed. Yes. Prison ends in 3 to 5 years. This is permanent. Every job application rejected. Every apartment denial. Every Google search finding those articles. They'll carry this until they die. Marcus nodded. You know Violet might try to contact you. Apologize. If she does, I'll listen. But forgiveness? I shrugged. Trust is like fine china. Once shattered, gluing pieces together still leaves cracks. In June, I donated $100,000 to the National Center on Elder Abuse. Naples Daily News covered it. Poisoning victim donates 6 figures to elder abuse prevention. The publicity positioned me permanently as survivor and philanthropist. Warren and Violet's crime followed them, while mine followed me as virtue. July, I consulted Marcus about criminal charges. We met at Port Royal Golf Club, discussing over lunch. The evidence is solid, Marcus explained. Medical records, the switched plates, their messages. They'd plead to aggravated assault, serve 3 to 5 years each. I considered this seriously. No, prison gives them structure, meals, housing, health care, better than what they have now. I want them free to experience the full weight of their choices. Marcus respected this. Sometimes consequences are worse than incarceration. August, Jonathan filed civil suit for property damage, $15,000. Warren and Violet didn't contest, couldn't afford lawyers. Default judgment entered. It went into their bankruptcy, would be discharged. They'd never pay. But that wasn't the point. The judgment appeared on every credit report, every background check forever. One more permanent mark of their failure. Late August evening, I sat on my terrace overlooking Naples Bay. Sunset painted the sky orange and purple. I was reading a biography of Joseph Devine, the art dealer. My field, my passion. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I debated answering, did. Silence for a moment, then a woman's voice, barely above a whisper. Dad, it's me. It's Violet. Please, please don't hang up. I closed my eyes. 6 months since I'd spoken to her. I need to talk to you, to apologize, to explain. I know I don't deserve it, but please, 5 minutes. That's all I ask. The sunset's beauty suddenly felt distant. 5 minutes, I said quietly. Not on the phone, in person. Tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, my house. Come alone. If Warren is anywhere near, I'm calling the police. Thank you, she whispered, crying. Thank you, Dad. I hung up, stared at the bay. Tomorrow would bring something, closure, maybe. Or just confirmation that some things can't be repaired. Either way, I'd listen, then I'd decide. September 2nd, 2 o'clock. I watched from the window as Violet walked up the driveway. 3 buses from Fort Myers, 90 minutes. She looked unrecognizable, 20 pounds lighter, hair in simple ponytail, no makeup, Target clearance clothes. She stood at the door for a full minute before ringing. I let it ring twice before answering. Opened the door but didn't invite her in immediately. Just looked at her. She met my eyes briefly, then looked down. "Thank you for seeing me," she whispered. I nodded toward the terrace. "Out there, I'm not bringing you inside." The house, where she'd tried to kill me, was forbidden territory. She understood, walked to the terrace. We sat in chairs separated by a small table, Naples Bay sparkling behind us. "Dad, I don't know where to start except, I'm sorry. I'm so desperately sorry." She wasn't hysterical, just quiet, broken. "I tried to kill you, my own father, for money. There's no excuse that makes it less monstrous. I can say Warren manipulated me. He did. I can say I was desperate. I was. But none of that matters because I chose. I crushed those pills. I baked those cupcakes. I served them to you." Tears streamed silently. "I've spent 6 months in shelters and cleaning toilets, thinking about what I did. And Dad, I understand now. I killed my daughter's self that night. The daughter you raised died when she chose murder. I can't be her again." She paused. "I'm not asking for money, not asking to move back, not asking for forgiveness because I don't deserve it. I'm just asking that you know I finally understand what I destroyed, and I'm sorry." I'd listened without interrupting. Now I was quiet, looking at the bay. "Violet, do you know what hurt most? Not the poison, not the stolen money, not even the betrayal. It was the calculation." She looked up. "You and Warren planned this for weeks, hundreds of opportunities to stop, to confess, to ask for help honestly. Every single time, you chose to continue. That's what I can't forgive, not the impulse, but the sustained intent." She nodded, not arguing. "I would have given you $100,000 to clear your debts. No questions asked. You didn't try asking, you went straight to murder." She cried harder. "So, when you say you understand what you destroyed, do you? The father-daughter relationship, the trust, the love, that died on Christmas Eve. You can't resurrect it with apologies." I shifted tone slightly, softer but firm. "Here's what I can offer. Not forgiveness, that's not mine to give for something this profound, but conditional neutrality. If you genuinely change your life, therapy, steady employment, rebuilding your character over years, then maybe in 3, 4, 5 years, we can have coffee occasionally as distant acquaintances. Not father-daughter. That relationship is dead. But as people who share history and want no harm to each other." She absorbed this. "That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. And understand? If you contact me before I contact you, if you ask for money, if you involve me in your life at all, this offer disappears. One chance only. I understand. Thank you. Even this, it's mercy I don't deserve." She stood to leave. At the terrace door, she turned. "Dad? The daughter you raised? She wasn't completely fake. Those memories, the love, that was real. I just lost her somewhere. I'm going to try to find some version of her again. Not for you, for me. I hope you do. Everyone deserves a second chance at becoming decent. But, Violet, remember, second chances are earned through years of changed behavior, not granted through one conversation." She nodded. "Goodbye, Dad." "Goodbye, Violet." I watched her walk down the driveway, take the long bus ride back to poverty. I felt finished. This chapter was closed. I called Marcus. She came, apologized, left. "It's done." "How do you feel?" "Relieved. The story is over." 3 weeks later, late September morning, I sat on the same terrace, coffee and newspaper. A small article. Local philanthropist donates $100K to elder abuse prevention. On the table, a letter from the Smithsonian wanting to exhibit my art collection. A check for $420,000 from the Child Hassam auction. An invitation to speak at a senior advocacy conference in Miami. My calendar was full of life, not consumed by revenge. Roberta called. "Dewey, have you seen Violet lately?" "No, she's working on rebuilding her life privately. I wish her well from a distance." "That's very gracious." "It's not grace, Roberta. It's boundaries. I hope she becomes better. But her journey isn't my responsibility anymore." I hung up, returned to coffee. I thought about the entire journey, from January 2024's first suspicious phone call to this peaceful September morning. 15 months total. From attempted murder to justice to closure. I realized this wasn't revenge. Revenge is hurting people because they hurt you. This was accountability. I simply refused to be their victim and insisted they face consequences for attempted homicide. Revenge is emotional. Accountability is structural. I protected my life, my assets, my dignity. I let natural consequences flow from their choices. They destroyed themselves. I just refused to save them from their own decisions. And now, I'm free. Free to live well, give generously, and enjoy the years they tried to steal from me. That's not revenge. That's survival. That's fairness. That's justice. I set down my coffee, looked at Naples Bay sparkling in morning sun, and smiled. At 68, I'm wealthier than Violet ever knew, healthier than Warren expected, and more at peace than they left room for. I won by living well. The rest is just history. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.